I'm very confident about the future of Overwatch though. Let me tell you why. I have been playing Overwatch for almost 10 years. Well, at least pretty soon. See, I started playing Overwatch back in October 2015 during the first closed beta. I was working for a gaming magazine at that point and I got my hands on one of the beta keys. I was through the local Blizzard office here in Europe. Now, I didn't start making Overwatch content till a few years later, mainly on Instagram, and I've been making videos for a few years now. But let's just say that I went through all the ups and downs that we have known in the Overwatch scene for the last 10 years. A huge success during those first few years. Then there was a bit of a content drought. I was at the BlizzCon where they announced Overwatch 2, which I saw as a good opportunity to start making video content, but that didn't really pan out. Because then there was the whole dead period between 2019 when they announced Overwatch 2 and the actual release, after which they postponed PvE, eventually scrapped PvE. There was Microsoft purchasing Blizzard, a lot of drama around 6 vs 6, and then there was the release late last year of Marvel Rivals. It has been a lot of moments that I was scratching my head. And as you can tell, it resulted in a bit of a bald head. But through all of that, I did not stop making Overwatch content. I often got comments that I was one of the last true positive creators within the Overwatch scene. But as I've said many times, I wasn't necessarily positive. I was just more level-headed than most others. Which was definitely an exception in that toxic scene we were in at that moment. But today, I feel like a lot of that is behind us. Sure, Overwatch is still dealing with some, let's call it reputation damage. And that is especially among the more casual fans that have not kept up to date with everything that changed in the last, well, let's say 12 months. And look, there's always going to be people that no longer or never liked the game, but it currently is leaps and bounds better than it has been for the last 6 to 7 years. The game is actually in the best state it has ever been. Number-wise, they're holding strong in an industry that is struggling extremely hard to keep their player base interested. And you know what? They ain't done just yet. I'm extremely confident about the game and the IP. Why? Well, for the same reasons that I stuck with the game while a lot of other people gave up on it. It's the team behind the game. Over the last few years, I've had the pleasure to meet quite a few of them. Like a few years ago at BlizzCon, I ran into Aaron Keller, had a short conversation with him, and later on, I met Gavin Winter, just before he was going to take the stage. We talked about 15 minutes. The next day, I had like this press Q&A where I shot a ton of annoying questions to both Alec and Kenny. Sorry for that, guys. But yeah, that was about pet heroes. Of course it was about pet heroes. I've also been in touch with other team members through social media, the comments on my videos, and not too long ago I was actually added to the creator program, which gave me a completely new angle towards the team. So much so that earlier this year, I was actually invited to the Spotlight event at Blizzard Campus, much to my surprise. Now, I don't think that lightning is going to strike twice anytime soon. But during that event, I got to talk to so many people on the team. Each and every single person I talked to was simply amazing, friendly, passionate. I even got to talk to the big man himself, Walter Kong, the big boss of everything Overwatch. And while the nature of all these interactions I had throughout those 3-4 days was very different, they all had one thing in common: the passion and the pride they have for their game, for Overwatch. Every single conversation I had throughout that weekend or throughout that week was about how they wanted to make a better and more fun game for us. And I mean, yeah, of course, that makes sense. It was a creator event. But trust me, I've been to a few of those back in the day when I was working for the magazine. This one felt so different. This was not just them showing off what they had done and what they had been working on. It was more of a conversation. They were listening, we were giving input. They were looking at our reactions. They were looking at how we dealt with all the new features that they had as test and play on the streams, for instance. And look, they have been a talented team from the start that rose from the ashes of a failed project, Project Titan. The craftsmanship and the passion it takes to take something like that, such a disappointing moment actually for the team itself, to turn it into something gold, something beautiful like Overwatch, it's unimaginable. And sure, a lot of those people that worked on that transition back in the day are no longer with the team. But that same spirit is still there. I've seen it for myself. They love Overwatch, they're proud of what they're making, and they love the community, the player base. That talented team that has always been there has evolved to the next level. They finally learned that they need to listen to the community. That it's not just about shaking hands and telling stories at BlizzCon, for instance, but that this is an ongoing conversation that needs to happen all the time. That you build a good game, not for your community, but with your community. And that is something that a lot of other development teams have yet to learn. On top of that, there is a lot I would love to say about Microsoft. Nothing too good. But for Team 4, they are still the lesser evil. Kotick and his goons would have met the end of Blizzard at some point. Might have taken 5 years or 10 years, but it was bound to happen. They were going to milk all of those IPs till there was nothing left. The only thing that we would remain with is a faint memory of past glory. And while that takeover has definitely resulted in a lot of lost jobs, and I personally find that Microsoft is on a very dark path, a path that is much against the general interests of about 99% of our global community. Now, I'm not just talking about games. They did help to set Blizzard free. Free to do what they do best, and that is making awesome games. To take big swings, to take big risks. You know what? They're actually being pushed by people like Walter to do that every single day. To take a chance. And that, as a creative, is the biggest opportunity that you can get. Knowing that you can take a big swing and that the bosses above you are on board. That you should not fear to lose your job if you try something new. And that is exactly why I am hopeful about the future for Overwatch 2. Sure, they'll make mistakes. Not every swing they're going to take in the next few years is going to be a success. Just recently, we saw an example of that with the no mirror thing going on in Stadium with the draft mode. So basically, teams could not mirror each other. A very unfortunate choice, to say the least. But they turned it all back 2 days later. They swinged, they missed, and they adjusted. You know what? For every single swing they're missing right now, they also have 10 things that work out. Perks, Stadium, the new progression system, the return of loot boxes, the heroes, the collapse game modes. As long as they keep doing that, we'll forgive them for the misses. And the game will prosper. It will prosper in an industry and in a genre that is having a really hard time trying to replicate the success that Team 4 is having right now. I'm looking forward to the next 5 years. We know, for instance, that something big is coming in Season 21, the first season of 2026. Aaron talked about it in his latest director's take. They seem to have big plans. But I'm confident that the next 2 seasons, so 19 and 20, are going to be just as much fun. It is simply a good time to be an Overwatch player. And a good time to be an Overwatch creator. But what do you think? Have you been enjoying Overwatch and are you looking forward to the future? Let me know in the comments or come tell me during my streams. See you there. For now, however, that was it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons and YouTube members. You too can become a member over on patreon.com/theomnicpost and right here on YouTube to unlock exclusive rewards. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out one of my other videos. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye bye.